Failed to register for marriage at the Civil Affairs Bureau for the 19th time. My fiancé Fu Jingshan abandoned me again for his first love. I've completely given up and no longer love him. I impulsively married another man I met at the Civil Affairs Bureau who had also been abandoned by his fiancée. 7 years later, I returned to my grandmother's house for dinner with mini versions of myself, a pair of twins, my ex-boyfriend Fu Jingshan, who had disappeared for 7 years. Suddenly appeared before us with his white moonlight Lin Shui. Nian, Xiaxue was sick. I just took her abroad for treatment and took care of her for a few years. Was it necessary for you to announce in the family group chat that we had broken off our engagement, got married to another man, and even disbanded the family group after accompanying his white moonlight abroad for 7 years of treatment? The first thing my ex-boyfriend did upon returning was to blame me for calling off the engagement. I had never seen such a shameless man before and couldn't help but laugh in anger. I've already cancelled it. Fu Jingshan, what can you possibly do to me? You, Fu Jingshan froze, looking at me with an unfamiliar gaze. Once, I loved him as if my life depended on it. If he told me to go east, I wouldn't dare go west, even knowing he had a cherished white moonlight. Even when he stood me up time and again for our marriage registration, I still waited full of hope at the Civil Affairs Bureau, expecting him to show up. It wasn't until the 19th time, when he didn't show up, that I finally gave up. I married a man who was even more handsome and wealthier than him, and we had a pair of twins, a boy and a girl, who are now 7 years old. Fu Jingshan lowered his head and saw the 2 children by my side. His originally cold phoenix eyes suddenly lit up, and he walked over with a joyful smile. So you've given me 2 children. They look just like you. What are their names? Come quickly and call me daddy. I spread my arms to shield the 2 children behind me. Fu Jingshan, these 2 kids aren't yours. Don't flatter yourself. The 2 children also hid behind me, looking at Fu Jingshan with utter confusion. Fu Jingshan's face tightened, flashing with impatience. Nyan, I know my departure hit you hard, but I'm back now. Since you've already given birth to our children, let's go get married right away. The kids can't grow up without a father. I was about to explode with anger. What kind of man is this? Born without a shred of decency, insisting the child is his. I cast a cold glance at Lin Shui, frail and standing in the distance, and chuckled. If you want a child so badly, why not have Lin Shui bear one for you? Hearing this, Lin Shui burst into tears as if hit by a tear gas bomb, sobbing, Brother Jingshan. Sister Nyan clearly knows I can't have children yet deliberately says such things to hurt me. Does she dislike me? I frowned in confusion. Is Lin Shui infertile? I really didn't know about this. Fu Jingshan quickly walked over, pulled Lin Shui into his arms, and comforted her with heartache. When he turned to look at me, he was furious. Jiu Nianci, Xiao Shui has been frail and sickly since childhood and can't have children. You're truly malicious, deliberately targeting others' pain points. Lin Shui in his arms gave me a smug and provocative look. I rolled my eyes and gloated. Ha, can't have kids, what a pity. Fu Jingshan, if you don't find another woman to bear your children, you're doomed to have no heirs in this lifetime. You, Fu Jingshan was furious. Jiu Nianci, how dare you curse me with no heirs? He looked at my children, strode over, and grabbed their wrists. You too. Come with me. Such a vicious woman doesn't deserve to be your mother. He exerted tremendous force, causing the 2 children to writhe in pain, their faces contorted as they screamed, let me go, yet Fu Jingshan seemed deaf to their cries, utterly indifferent to the children's suffering, focused solely on pulling them backward. My son, a boy of fierce spirit, sank his teeth into Fu Jingshan's hand. As a mother, I couldn't bear to see my child tormented any longer, so I slapped Fu Jingshan across the face. Fu Jingshan let out a pained ah as he stumbled backward, grimacing in agony. The commotion outside caught the attention of the family butler, who hurriedly opened the door to let us in. I glared fiercely at Fu Jingshan. Fu Jingshan, I'm telling you for the last time, these 2 children aren't yours. Get the hell out of here and stay away. The 2 children also raised their heads defiantly, declaring, we have a father, and it's not some rabid dog who escaped from a mental asylum like you. Fu Jingshan was furious and wanted to say more, but we had already walked away. Lin Shui came over to comfort him, speaking softly, "Brother Jingshan, Sister Nian Nian must be angry that you left her and doesn't want the children to acknowledge you. Don't be sad, as long as we keep the children with us and gradually correct their values, they will surely recognize you as their father." Fu Jingshan took her hand and said, "Xiaxue, you are so gentle and kind, you will treat them as your own, won't you?" "Of course, Brother Jingshan's children are my children." Fu Jingshan smiled with relief, casting a chilling glance at my front door. "Jiyu Nianci, just you wait, I will definitely take the child back." When I returned home, my parents asked me what had happened. I told them that Fu Jingshan had come back and claimed the child was his. Upon hearing this, their faces turned pale with anger, cursing Fu Jingshan for being heartless, daring to return after disappearing for 7 years. The child also asked me, "Mom, who was that man just now?" The child is not young anymore and understands everything they should. I honestly told them, "That was the man who promised to marry me 7 years ago but ended up abandoning me for 7 years, showing no loyalty or affection. I'm grateful for his refusal to marry me, as it allowed me to meet your father and have you." As soon as I finished speaking, the phone rang. It was an unknown number. I picked up the phone, and Fu Jingshan's icy command came through from the other end, "Jiyu Nianci. Can't you be a little more sensible? Now, immediately, right away, come to the Civil Affairs Bureau. I'll only wait for you half an hour." Before he could finish, I hung up and blocked him. I could just imagine how furious he must be on the other end. Before, it was always him hanging up on me, and me waiting for him at the Civil Affairs Bureau. Now the tables have turned, any call with his voice gets blocked and deleted immediately. I thought my firm stance, repeatedly telling him the child wasn't his, would make him believe it. Unexpectedly, the next day after work, when I went to pick up our child from school, I actually saw him and Lin Shui, one pulling and the other carrying, trying to forcibly take away my 2 children. "What are you doing?" My heart skipped a beat as I rushed over, pushed down Lin Shui who was tugging at my daughter, and then took my son off Fu Jingshan's shoulder. Fu Jingshan went to help Lin Shui who had fallen to the ground. I held my frightened child tightly and shouted angrily, "Fu Jingshan, have you lost your mind? Snatching a child in broad daylight. Do you too want to go to jail?" The surrounding children and parents quickly gathered around. The child attends an elite school, and within our affluent circle, many people recognize both me and Fu Jingshan. They still vividly remember how I used to be Fu Jingshan's devoted follower. Isn't this Fu Jingshan, who abandoned Jiyu Nianci time and again at their engagement banquet and wedding 7 years ago for his white moonlight? Yes. Their engagement banquet and wedding were held several times. We attended multiple times before they finally succeeded. Did they end up together in the end? And whose children are those 2 kids by Jiyu Nianci's side? Back then, when I called off the engagement with Fu Jingshan, we only informed our respective parents. As for Ji Chenyuan, we met at the Civil Affairs Bureau and had a whirlwind marriage. He had also been abandoned by his fiancée. We had no wedding ceremony and made no public announcement. No one knew I had married into the Ji family, and the children were from the Ji family. Both children look like me, with no resemblance to any man. Lin Shui turned the tables and tearfully said, "Sister Nian Nian, I know you hold a grudge against Brother Jingshan, but you can't secretly give birth to his children, keep them from seeing Brother Jingshan for 7 years, and not let them acknowledge him as their father. Is that appropriate?" The onlookers were stunned upon hearing this. What? Jiyu Nianci secretly gave birth to Fu Jingshan's child and didn't let the child see his father for 7 years. That kind of woman has a heart as venomous as a snake's, even if the man did something wrong. You can't use a child as a bargaining chip. A child must have a complete family to grow up mentally healthy. Exactly, I was falsely accused, and the 2 children were furious, shouting at the crowd, "Don't listen to that wicked woman's nonsense. He's not our dad, our real dad is way handsomer than him." Lin Shui continued to cry, adding fuel to the fire. "Look, everyone, not only does she refuse to teach the children to acknowledge their real father, but she also slanders him and lets them call another man dad. Is this how a mother should raise her children?" The crowd began pointing fingers at me. Fu Jingshan threatened me, saying, "Jiyu Nianci, I'm giving you one last chance. Come with me to the Civil Affairs office to register our marriage. Then take the children back to the Fu family to honor their ancestors. Otherwise, don't blame me for what happens next." The crowd erupted in an uproar upon hearing this. What? They haven't even registered their marriage yet. Judging by Ji Niance's attitude, it's probably her who's been delaying the registration. Right, using a child for revenge. What a vicious scheme. When people are utterly speechless, they laugh. I smiled mockingly and said, "Fu Jingshan, you took Lin Shui abroad for 7 years to treat her illness. Now you return after 7 years without presenting any evidence, yet claim the child is yours. Do you really enjoy raising someone else's child that much?" The onlookers were stunned once again upon hearing this. Stayed abroad for 7 years before coming back, then this child might really not be his. Fu Jingshan, however, said with absolute certainty, "The child must be mine, because before I left, I was with you. Everyone in Jingju knows how devoted you, Ji Niance, are to me. You couldn't possibly tolerate any other man besides me. How could you remarry? You're just using the child to get back at me, to make me pay attention to you." Falling in love with Fu Jingshan was the biggest stain of my life. I raised my voice and said, "Fu Jingshan, I don't love you anymore. The person who was with you that night wasn't me. The child isn't yours, and I'm already married. If you don't believe me," I pulled out a strand of the child's hair and handed it to him. "Go get a paternity test." Fu Jingshan hesitated for a second as he looked at the hair I offered, then swatted it away. With a pained expression, he accused, "Ji Niance, Lin Shui is terminally ill. I only accompanied her abroad for treatment and left you for a few years. Was it really necessary for you to throw such a tantrum?" I'm utterly speechless. Is 7 years such a short time? Why should I wait for him? Even the onlookers were left dumbfounded by his shocking remarks. Isn't his behavior clearly abandoning his wife and children? No wonder his wife and child don't want to acknowledge him. They couldn't help but glance at Fu Jingshan's white moonlight. Tall and slender in appearance, her skin was an unhealthy pale, yet it shimmered like snow under the sunlight. Like a dodder swaying in the wind, or more like a fluffy little white rabbit, evoking pity. Not just Fu Jingshan, but many girls, including me, once felt great sympathy for her. Only after getting to know her did we realize she was nothing like her fragile, pitiable appearance. She was full of cunning schemes. She helped Fu Jingshan snatch the child today, probably because she can't have children of her own and wants mine. I absolutely cannot let her succeed, seeing everyone's eyes on her. Lin Shui quickly covered her mouth to cough, appearing frail as if about to collapse in the wind. Fu Jingshan hurriedly supported her in his arms, his attitude softening as he said to me, "Nyan Nyan, Xiao Shui hasn't fully recovered yet. Please stop making a scene and come back to the Fu family with the child." I sneered, "Since you care so much about Lin Shui, why don't you just marry her? That way, you can take care of her anytime and stay with her till the end of time." Fu Jingshan's anger flared instantly, and he snapped irritably, "Ji Niance, how many times do I have to tell you? I only see her as a sister." I couldn't be bothered to argue with him, rolling my eyes. I walked away with the 2 children in my arms. Fu Jingshan strode over and grabbed my wrist, gritting his teeth as he said, "Even if I marry Xiaoxue, these 2 children must still be ours." Fu Jingshan absolutely refused to let us leave. As a woman, I simply didn't have the strength to match his. Fortunately, the Ji family's driver and bodyguards arrived just in time. It turned out the 2 children had been quick-witted during the struggle when they were being dragged away. They'd activated the emergency SOS button on their smartwatches. Otherwise, I'm afraid I won't be able to get them out of here today. After the bodyguard got out of the car, he pushed Fu Jingshan aside and escorted us into a Rolls-Royce with a license plate number of 58s. The bodyguard rode in an Audi A8 with a consecutive number of 56. The crowd watched the departing vehicles, speculating wildly, "Isn't this license plate from the Ji family? The wealthiest in Jingju, Ji Niance married into the Ji family. Why wasn't there any news about it?" Fu Jingshan clenched his fists, veins bulging on his forehead. Lin Shui pretended to comfort him, saying, "So Sister Nyan has hooked up with the Ji family, then we might not be able to get these 2 children back. Brother Jingshan, let's give up." spending the rest of our lives childless could still be a kind of happiness. Though our old age might be a bit bleak, after speaking, she lowered her head to wipe her tears. Fu Jingsheng held her shoulders and reassured her gently. Don't worry, Xiaoxue, even if the heavens themselves came down, those 2 children are mine, Fu Jingsheng's, and no one can take them away. What kind of person is Jiyu Nianci? She's not worthy of being the children's mother. You are the one who deserves it, and I will make sure they call you Mom. Lin Shui smiled happily. Leaning weakly against Fu Jingsheng's shoulder, at an angle Fu Jingsheng couldn't see, a wicked smile played at the corners of his mouth. My heart was in turmoil. Fu Jingsheng wore an expression of defiance. He would surely come to snatch the child again. I hurriedly ordered someone to arrange a paternity test. By the way, have someone investigate the evidence of Fu Jingsheng being with another woman that night 7 years ago. Also, the truth about Lin Shui's inability to have children. Next time they dare to come, I'll make them admit defeat in the face of the evidence. A few days later, it will be the birthday banquet of the children's maternal grandfather, Old Master Ji. At the banquet, all the prominent figures gathered. My husband, Ji Chenyuan, just got off the plane and is already on his way here. The 2 children were craving sweets, so I took them to enjoy desserts at the banquet. Suddenly, a noble woman walked up to me and slapped me hard across the face. Jiyu Nianci. 7 years ago, when you unilaterally called off the engagement, I was already very displeased with you. Never did I expect you to push your luck further, secretly giving birth to Jingsheng's child, not letting the child return to his roots, not allowing us to hold our grandchild. What exactly are your intentions? The originally lively banquet scene fell into complete silence in an instant. With everyone gathering around, I looked up and realized the person who hit me was Fu Jingsheng's mother. The child saw me being hit and rushed over, giving her a flurry of little punches. Fu Jingsheng and his father pulled the child away, lecturing them. This is your grandmother. Hitting your grandmother is extremely disrespectful. If you want to hit someone, hit that bad woman over there. The child struggled desperately. Let me go, you're the bad ones. They were practically desperate for a child, even daring to snatch one openly at the banquet. I strode over to try and pull the child away. Fu Jingsheng's mother pushed me aside, widening her eyes in warning. Either marry Jingsheng or give the child back to us. Choose one. I asked, what evidence do you have to prove the child is from the Fu family? Have you done a paternity test? Fu Chen's mother declared confidently. Jingsheng said you're the only woman he's ever been with in his life. These 2 children are definitely of the Fu family's bloodline. I roared, the one he wants isn't me, it's Lin Shui. The room fell silent for a few seconds. All eyes cast disdainful glances at Fu Jingsheng and Lin Shui. Everyone knew that Fu Jingsheng had abandoned me countless times for Lin Shui. If anyone claimed there was nothing intimate between them, no one would believe it. Shame flushed his cheeks as Fu Jingsheng angrily retorted, Jiyu Nianci, stop talking nonsense. Lin Shui and I are completely innocent. Are you trying to ruin our reputations? Whether it's nonsense or not, why don't you ask Lin Shui? I turned my gaze toward Lin Shui. A flicker of guilt and panic flashed in Lin Shui's eyes as she wondered, could the child really not be mine and Fu Jingsheng's? Then, a vicious thought arose in her heart. Whether it was or not, it didn't matter, since she could never bear children in this lifetime. She was determined to have these 2 call her mother. With a pitiful expression, Lin Shui said, Sister Nian, my health is frail. Not only am I unfit to bear children, but I'm also unsuitable to be with a man. Please don't falsely accuse me like this. Lin Shui was the epitome of a delicate beauty. When she cried, it seemed as if the world was wrong and she alone was right. Fu Jingsheng's mother shouted to the crowd, look everyone, this is my daughter-in-law from 7 years ago. 7 years ago, she unilaterally broke off the engagement, secretly gave birth to my son's child, and never let us meet our own grandchild. The surrounding people began chattering all at once, casting condemning glances at me. They all said what I did was wrong, that it would harm both me and the child, and urged me to bring the child back to recognize his true family. My son screamed hoarsely, they're lying, we have a dad, grandparents, and a great-grandfather too. We're definitely not the children of these mad dogs. My daughter chimed in, yeah, if you dare bully us, Just wait until Grandpa and Grandma get here, you're done for. Smack, Lin Shuai actually slapped each child across the face. She scolded them harshly. You better take a good look, he's the real dad, and those two are the real grandparents. Don't mistake them for someone else. The children wailed in pain. Fu Jingshan's mother said heartbrokenly, "Why did you hit the child?" Fu Jingshan's father also frowned and quickly comforted his crying granddaughter in his arms. Lin Shuai, on the other hand, criticized them. "Didn't you hear what they just called you? Mad dogs, they have no manners at all. Their minds have already been twisted by Jiyu Nianci. If we don't take a firm approach, they won't listen." Fu Jingshan agreed with her method of discipline and intervened. "Dad, Mom, Xiaoxua is right. Sometimes children won't behave without a spanking. A slap won't hurt them." Lin Shuai, "How dare you hit my child?" I was utterly enraged. Gritting my teeth, with all my strength, I slapped Lin Shuai across the face, knocking her down. Then I went to grab the child. Lin Shuai's two girlfriends pinned me down on my knees, and no matter how I struggled, I was no match for the two of them. Lin Shuai stood up, furious, and slapped me repeatedly. The child, seeing me being hit, looked heartbroken and cried even harder, their voices hoarse. They pleaded not to hit Mommy. In the end, Fu Jingshan couldn't bear to watch any longer and pulled Lin Shuai away. He had never seen such a violent side of Lin Shuai before and was momentarily stunned as he stared at her face. Lin Shuai snapped back to reality, realizing she had lost her composure, and quickly covered her head, collapsing onto Fu Jingshan while crying in a delicate, pitiful manner, "Brother Jingshan. That slap from Nian Nian just now made me so dizzy. Could I have a concussion?" Fu Jingshan immediately felt unbearable heartache and glared coldly at me. "Jiyu Nianci, you deserve to be hit." At this moment, I was dazed from the slaps, my face swollen and throbbing with pain. The metallic taste of blood trickling from the corner of my mouth. Bystanders watched as a mother and her two children were beaten and bullied, yet not a single soul stepped forward to intervene. Some even laughed at me. As if I deserved this punishment, I raised my eyes and glared at them fiercely. "Fu Jingshan, you'll get what's coming to you. Still talking tough. I'll beat you until you submit today." Fu Jingshan's mother looked fierce and was about to hit me again. At that moment, the banquet hall doors swung open, and an authoritative voice rang out, "Stop!" Everyone turned to look. It was my parents-in-law, pushing the elderly gentleman in a wheelchair, accompanied by over a dozen bodyguards. "Grandpa, Grandma, Grandfather, save us." The two children, seeing their lifeline, cried out in heart-wrenching sobs. Lin Shuai slapped them across the face once again. "Are you out of your minds? What nonsense are you shouting? That's the wealthiest man in Jingju. How could they possibly be your grandparents?" The onlookers were laughing their heads off, calling the wealthiest couple in Jingju Grandpa and Grandma, and addressing the old master as grandfather. These kids must have been beaten silly to be claiming relatives like this. Such audacity. Just wait till the Fu family teaches them a proper lesson. But then they saw my mother-in-law storming over, slapping Lin Shuai across the face and scolding, "Who do you think you are, daring to hit my grandson and granddaughter?" The entire room fell into silence, with all the guests wide-eyed and not daring to breathe. Lin Shuai covered her face, trembling in disbelief as she stared at my mother-in-law. Fu Jingshan and his parents turned pale with fright. With a sudden release, before my father-in-law could come to the child's rescue, the little one broke free from the restraint, rushed into the arms of the grandfather seated in the wheelchair, and tearfully poured out grievances with a tear-streaked face. "Grandpa, they hit us. And they bullied Mom." Fu Jingshan's mother lost her earlier arrogance, acting like a dog wagging its tail, nervously forcing a smile. "Madam, there must be some misunderstanding. Those two children are clearly from our Fu family." Before she could finish, my mother-in-law raised her hand and slapped her. "Who gave you the audacity to cause trouble at the old master's banquet?" Lin Shuai pointed at me and timidly explained, "Madam, we didn't want to make trouble. It's Jiyu Nianci who did something heinous and refused to repent, so we had to teach her a lesson." Her two best friends were still holding me down, speaking up for Lin Shuai. "Yes, Madam, she gave birth to Fu Jingshan's child, taught the child to swear, and taught the child to deny his ancestry. She totally deserved to be beaten." The guests also nodded in agreement, with not a single person standing on my side. My mother-in-law gave me a very suspicious look, then raised her hand and slapped Lin Shui again, glaring at her friends and saying, "Let her go now." Lin Shui's best friend was so frightened that she shuddered and let go of me, stepping back. I stood up and walked over to my mother-in-law, saying thank you. My father-in-law came over and asked, "Nyan Nyan, is what they said true? Is the child from the Fu family, not Shen Yuan?" At that moment, the child was nestled in the old man's arms, already soothed, and looked at me with a puzzled expression. Could they really be the offspring of this mad dog? Otherwise, why would they go to such extremes? I looked at them with absolute certainty and declared solemnly, "The child is Ji Chenyuan's, not Fu Jingshan's. I've already done a paternity test, and the report will be here soon." "Impossible," Fu Jingshan said with unwavering confidence. "Ji Uniansi, I thought you just latched onto the Ji family for protection. I never imagined you'd marry into the Ji family while carrying my child. You're playing with fire." Lin Shui nestled in Fu Jingshan's arms and echoed, "Yes, for the sake of wealth and status, you'd even exploit children. Do you want to kill them?" I'm exhausted from explaining, but I'll say it one last time. Fu Jingshan, the person with you that day really wasn't me. When I married Ji Chenyuan, I was pure and untouched. The child is Ji Chenyuan's. Hearing this, Fu Jingshan's mother sneered. "Back then, everyone knew how desperately you loved my son, following him around every day. Who knows how many times you slept with him, and now you claim to be pure and untouched. Who would believe such nonsense?" "That's right. I saw it with my own eyes at the KTV. Su Niancy dressed as a bunny girl pouring drinks for Fu Jingshan. She was utterly seductive. What's the big deal? I've even seen her carry Fu Jingshan home on her back." Fu Jingshan's mother spoke harshly, with insulting words. Others were also pointing at me, whispering and gossiping. "It's all my fault. Back then I tried so hard to please Fu Jingshan, leaving behind a shameful dark history." I angrily said, "I love him, but he doesn't love me. He spends every day by Lin Shui's side taking care of her." "Fu Jingshan, you tell me yourself. Do you really touch me whenever you feel like it, under the gaze of everyone?" Fu Jingshan felt somewhat embarrassed, but he was honest enough to admit, "I've only touched her once. And she's the only woman I've ever had in my life." As he spoke, he walked over to take my hand, lowering his stance to persuade me. "Nyan Nyan, stop making a scene. Quickly explain everything to everyone. The child is mine. Apologize properly to the Ji family, and let's go home. Let go of my wife." A stern command came from the direction of the door. Everyone turned to look at the source of the voice. They saw a man nearly 1.9 meters tall, dressed in a tailored suit, with a slender build, walking with swift strides. His cold, handsome features surpassed those of any male celebrity. His sharp eyes seemed to carry a murderous aura. The entire banquet hall was instantly enveloped by his overwhelming presence. It was Ji Chenyuan who had arrived. He had finally come. Everyone held their breath, not daring to make the slightest sound. The man walked over, pushed Fu Jingshan aside, and pulled me into his embrace. Lowering his gaze, he looked at me with heartache and softly apologized. "I'm sorry, I came too late." At this moment, all my grievances and anger melted away in the warmth of his tender love. I shook my head and said, "It's okay, as long as you're here, Daddy." The two children ran over excitedly and hugged Ji Chenyuan's legs. Ji Chenyuan, overflowing with paternal love, bent down to pat their heads. Fu Jingshan saw for the first time how affectionate I was with another man. My eyes filled with sweetness. And our family of 4 appeared harmonious and loving. He froze for a moment, a thick wave of jealousy rising in his chest. Lin Shui turned green with envy on the spot. She never expected that a woman like me, scorned by the Fu family, would catch the eye of the wealthiest man, Ji Chenyuan, and be treated so well by him. She quickly put on her most pitiable fragile beauty act, the kind that would melt any heart, and sobbed, "President Ji, you've finally come. You probably don't know yet. Nian Nian married into your Ji family while pregnant, making your family raise another man's child for 7 years. How pitiful you are, wearing such a big green hat on your head. My heart aches for you, brother." This tactic was utterly useless against Ji Chenyuan, a man who had no appreciation for delicate beauty. cared only about right and wrong, and was cold yet fair by nature. Ji Chenyuan's eyes filled with disgust. He raised his hand and slapped her, sending her tumbling to the ground. Then said in a deep voice, "When Su Niancy married me, she was pure and innocent. Where does this talk of infidelity come from? Those who make baseless accusations without evidence are trash, and those who believe such words without proof are downright idiots." Upon hearing Ji Chenyuan's words, the guests exchanged glances, their expressions silently conveying, "You're an idiot, I'm an idiot." Just then, the person I had sent to handle the matter arrived. Handing me a paternity test report along with a USB drive, Ji Chenyuan and I reviewed the report together, confirming the child was indeed his. Before tossing the document to Fu Jingshan, Fu Jingshan picked up the report that had fallen to the ground, glanced at it, and his mind went blank with disbelief. Lin Shui was still making excuses. The report must be fake. Ji Niancy forged it to climb onto the Ji family's wealth and status. Ji Chenyuan finally witnessed what true shamelessness looked like. Barely restraining his anger, he calmly stated, "How could I not know if the children are mine? Their blood type matches mine. My son's personality is like mine. My daughter's personality is like her mother's, and they're allergic to the same things I am. Since you still refuse to believe, then let's invite doctors from all major hospitals to conduct another test on the spot, and Fu Jingshan can also take the test." Ji Chenyuan gave a look, and his assistant nodded to arrange it. It took quite some time for the doctors to arrive and then to conduct the on-site evaluation. The results came out, and all reports confirmed that the child was Ji Chenyuan's biological offspring, not Fu Jingshan's. They finally numbly accepted this fact. Ji Chenyuan looked at Fu Jingshan with an amused expression. "President Fu, even if Nyan Nyan really slept with you, how can you be sure it happened in that one time? And not after she was with me." Fu Jingshan opened his mouth to say something but couldn't find the words, then turned his gaze to me. Because in his heart, I had always been his chosen wife. He was convinced I would never leave him, never remarry. He tried to find evidence in my eyes that I still loved him. I turned my gaze away with disgust, feeling sick at the sight of him. His heart twitched, and Fu Jingshan raised his hand to cover his chest. At that moment, it seemed he finally realized he loved me, understanding the pain of losing someone dear, so excruciatingly painful. To prove my innocence, I had someone play the video from the USB drive. Only then did Fu Jingshan see it. The night before he took Lin Shui abroad, he got completely drunk, came to me, and wanted to sleep with me. At that time, we lived in a villa we had bought together. Lin Shui, as his most cherished white moonlight, had a key to the villa. Lin Shui brought her best friend in, declaring herself the true owner of the villa. After beating me up and throwing me out, she naturally ended up sleeping with the drunken Fu Jingshan. After watching the video, Fu Jingshan suddenly turned to look at Lin Shui, his furious gaze almost tearing her apart. Lin Shui trembled all over, her eyes glistening with tears. "Ji Jingshan, listen to me. The video must be edited. Su Niancy is trying to frame me." "Lin Shui, stop pretending." I sneered and flung the report my assistant had just handed me onto Lin Shui. "You were married, 8 months pregnant when your husband's domestic violence caused a miscarriage. Not only did you lose the child, but it also left you infertile, with lingering health issues, though not to the point of being frail." "Lies. All lies." Lin Shui panicked, crouching down to frantically gather the scattered report from the floor. Fu Jingshan snatched it away, and after a single glance, he was so furious he practically bristled. "Brother Jingshan, let me explain." Lin Shui trembled like a rattledrum. "Explain what? Do you still think we're fools? The evidence is right before our eyes. Why should we believe anything you say now?" Fu Jingshan was on the verge of breaking down. He never imagined that the person he had cherished so dearly would turn out to be a deceitful wretch. She had cost him his wife and the child that should have been his. Fu Jingshan's mother was so furious that her temperature rose, and she slapped her. "You damn bitch, if you hadn't interfered and ruined Jingshan and Nian Nian's relationship, those twins would be our grandchildren now. Give me back my grandchildren." After saying that, she lost her mind and reached out to strangle Lin Shui's neck. We watched their fight with great amusement. The police arrived, and they faced imprisonment for provoking trouble and intentional injury. Fu Jingshan looked at me with pleading eyes. Nyan Nyan, for the sake of the love we once shared, let us go, give us the letter of understanding. As for that bitch Lin Shui, you can deal with her however you want. Lin Shui's expression was twisted with rage, baring her teeth as if she wanted to tear Fu Jingshan apart. Fu Jingshan, you heartless scoundrel, it was you who disregarded Ji Niance's feelings and came after me, protected me. If you truly loved her, there would never have been room for me, or any other woman, by your side. Get lost. Fu Jingshan raised his foot to kick her, but the officers quickly pulled them apart. Ji Chenyuan sneered, I heard our child called you mad dogs. Quite fitting, both mad and dog-like. Fu Jingshan looked at me with pleading eyes once more. The man who once acted so arrogantly before me now groveled like a dog. I ignored him. Several people were taken away by the police. Several years passed. It was said that they had been released from prison. The Fu family declared bankruptcy. No one would hire them, and the whole family ended up working in a factory tightening screws. Meanwhile, Lin Shui's reputation was ruined, and she had lost her youthful charm. No man in high society dared to take her in. In the end, she was dragged back by her ex-husband to remarry, living a rather miserable life. Oh, you've made your bed. Now lie in it. Thank you for watching today's story. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below, so feel free to share your opinions, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more great stories. We'll see you in the next video.